Hey guys, Mr. Bowman here. Today's learning objective is in orange and we are learning to find the volume of composite shapes. And I've underlined two words or two phrases. I suppose the first one is we're carrying on with our studying of volume, and that relates to how many 1 unit cubes we can fit within a given shape. And the new word, composite shapes. So this is something we wouldn't have looked at before. So composite shapes are shapes which are comprised of multiple different shapes. So they are multiple shapes together in one shape. And hopefully you'll be able to see that with the two examples we've got on the screen. So what we can see, if we break up the shape into smaller parts, so let's say we chop this bit down here, so we can see we got one rectangular prism on the left and we got one on the right down the bottom. And the same with the second shape. If we chop along the base there, we got the base of our shape and we got the additional peak of our shape as well. So you can see that there are the composite of two separate shapes pulled together to make one shape. And we're going to try to discuss some certain strategies of finding the volume of these two shapes. So let's get into these. Let's change pen colors. We're going to use green for the first one. So the first step is, let's find the volume of the shapes. So what you can do is, I said before, we can chop it down this way here, and we can find the volume of this portion and the volume of this portion. So that's definitely correct. There's often multiple ways of chopping up these shapes. So we can actually go horizontally. So the first shape would be a bit smaller. We can find the base of that shape as well. And if you're really keen, I suppose you could chop the top off, chop the tail off, and then you could find the area of that leftover third part as well. So what we're going to do, just for convenience, we're going to chop along the base of our shape just over here. And we're then going to find the area of the top part. We're going to find the area of the bottom part. And then we're going to add them together to find the total area. So let's start working. So the working below, I'm going to write 1 just because that's my reference to the diagram. The volume of 1, well, that's going to be equal to base times height times length. So we need to think, well, how tall is this portion of the shape here? So we can see the total length is 10, but 3 of it is used up by the base, which means so 10 minus 3, that leftover portion, well, that's going to be 7 millimeters high. We can then do the same for the bottom bit or the base of this shape. So we've got 12 along the very bottom, 8 of it's used up for the rectangle, which means the bottom. So 12 minus 8, that gets us to 4 millimeters. And then finally, the depth of the shape going backwards, well, we can see that relates to a measurement already given to us. So that there would actually be 2 millimeters. So in our case, the volume would be 7 times the 4, which we calculated here, times the 2. That's definitely the hardest bit, and that there is 56 millimeters squared. Now that we've found the volume of the top area, let's have a look at the volume for the bottom area, or the second area. So the volume of the second part, so that's going to be 12. That measurement's already given to us, 2 is given to us, and 3 is given to us. So it's going to be nice and easy. It's going to be 12 times 3. That would get us the area of the face. We then times it by the depth of that shape. So that becomes 6 times 12, which gets us to 72 millimeters squared. From there, we find the area, so the total volume. So I said area, but I did mean volume. That's going to be equal to the 56 for part 1 plus the 72 for part 2. When we add those together, 56 plus 72, I just used my calculator to help me get that. That's 128 millimeters squared. So well done. Hopefully you got that as your total volume for that composite shape. So let's switch to blue. Let's have a go at the next shape here. So same deal. Let's use that horizontal break to chop our shape up into 2 parts. So we're going to call the top area 1 and the bottom area number 2. So let's figure out the first part So volume 1, that's going to be equal to, well, it's going to be 1 inch. It says the total height is 3 inches, but 1 inch has been used up for the base. So that means the height going along there, that will be the total 3 minus 1, leaving us with 2. We then need to find the depth of our shape. That's already given to us. That there would be 2 inches. So 2. So we can find that. So it's going to be 2, which is the height, times the face, which is 1, times the depth, which is 2. So that's going to get us to 4 inches squared. We can then have a look at the volume 2 part. So the volume of the second part. So same thing, the face, that looks nice and easy. That's going to be 4, and the height looks like 1, so it's going to be 4 times 1, times it by the depth, which gets us to 2. So that there's going to be 8 inches squared. And when we add them together, so total volume, that there is going to be equal to 4 plus 8, which combined gets us to 12 inches squared. So hopefully this video clarified how do we approach it. So all we need to do, composite shape, we need to chop the shape up into 2 separate parts. Once we've got each separate part, we're then going to add together the 2 portions. So I used one volume method. You may have another volume method that you prefer as well. But as long as you get the 2 volumes, you can add them together and you'll be sorted. So thanks for watching this video on the volume of composite shape. Now let's get into heaps of practice.